Hello and welcome back. So, the answers for pub quiz number 5. Number 1. In the UK, we use police dogs, but in rural China, there are 12 police stations that use police gooses. Or geese, I suppose would be the word. So, you would find a police goose as well as a police dog. Number 2. To the nearest 500 years, where did the myth of the Loch Ness Monster begin? Well, that started in 565 AD, so 500 AD to the nearest 500 years. It was an Irish monk who was passing through Scotland, and he heard tales of a water beast that could kill anyone that enters the River Ness. And that's how it started, from that. Number 3. A teacher in North Korea used to have to be able to play the accordion. It was part of the actual criteria to get that qualification to become a teacher. Number 4, the only country in the world that covers 11 time zones specifically is Russia. So someone can get up at 7 a.m. and someone can go to bed at 10 p.m. in the same country. Number 5, statistically speaking, couples are most likely to break up on Mondays, according to Facebook, after analysing millions of people's data. So Monday is the answer to number 5. Number 6. Beethoven spent much of his later life biting onto a metal pole because that's how he would hear. So after becoming deaf, he would bite down on that metal pole, and then through the conduction that would go through his skull, and that's actually how he was able to hear and compose later in his life. It's called bone conduction. So your answer for that one will be to be able to hear, or to be able to write music. Number 7, Theodore Seuss is probably better known as Dr. Seuss. People often mispronounce the Seuss, when technically speaking, it should be Seuss. So, Dr. Seuss. Number 8, hipsters in the 40s were associated with jazz and the jazz movement. Specifically bebop. So if you've got that as a very specific answer, I will also allow that. Number 9, which commonly used symbol is technically called an octothorpe. That is a hashtag. So if you draw out a hashtag, it's got 8 separate points to it. Number 10, this is a fun fact. A computer mouse is measured in Mickeys. So you would use a Mickey, or a set of Mickeys, to measure how fast a mouse moves. And it's completely unrelated to the Disney understanding of that. So it's a nice coincidence. Number 11. Nowadays people would say cheese and Victorians would say prunes when taking a picture. So the answer to that one is when they're having their picture taken. Prunes, by the way, would sort of straighten out the mouth. If you imagine saying it now, you can't really smile as you're saying it. You would have quite a straight face. And it would make them look more serious, and that's the whole point of it. If you were smiling, then you'd look quite undignified, and that wasn't a good thing in Victorian times. Number 12, the largest pyramid in the world is in Mexico. It's called the Cholula Pyramid. The base of that is 4 times larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza. So if you wrote down Egypt, then that wouldn't be correct. Don't get me started on the pyramids. I'll save that for another round and another time. Number 13. You'd have to be a taxi driver to be able to pass the knowledge test. So specifically a London cabbie, but I'll allow taxi driver for this. So if you passed the knowledge test, you'd be becoming a cabbie in London. In 1866, this is for number 14, Liechtenstein sent out 80 men to fight and returned with 81 because one of the soldiers made a friend and brought him home. That's the answer to number 14. It could quite easily have been like an Italian defector who was brought back to Liechtenstein, But the answer officially is he made a friend. And I think that's just a really nice fact for you all. Number 15, similarly heartwarming. There are more trees on Earth than stars in the Milky Way galaxy. There's estimated to be about 3 trillion trees on the planet, whereas the star numbers range from about 100 to 400 billion. So there's much more trees. Number 16, in Sweden, you would have Kaninhoppning, which is involving rabbits. It's rabbit show jumping. So just like you would have horses doing show jumping in the UK, you would also get that still in Sweden, but you also have rabbit competitions as well, doing the same thing on a smaller scale. Number 17, bit of a clue really in the title for this one, but Hatebeak is fronted by a parrot, or I'll allow bird, I suppose, as well, but it's fronted by a parrot. You can listen to all the songs and albums on YouTube as well. Just type in Hatebeak and there's loads. They're all mainly bird puns in the titles, so you'll spot them straight away. Number 18, Pierce Brosnan was the actor who played James Bond in Tomorrow Never Dies. So that's Pierce Brosnan for number 18. For number 19, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon nowadays would be found in Iraq. I did say destroyed in the original question. There's a doubt as to whether they actually existed to begin with or not. But Iraq would be the place where, if they did exist, and if they still existed today, that's where you would find them. And number 20. So what I want to do is I'll go through the years, 2014 all the way up to 2018, and I'll let you know the exact album. So it's going to be 1 mark each for all of these. So in 2014, the best-selling album was Frozen, that soundtrack. That sold 9 million copies. So Frozen, you can just put, if you've done it by artist and album, just put various artists for that one. In 2015, it was 25 by Adele. That sold 17.5 million copies. So 25 by Adele in 2015. In 2016, it was Lemonade by Beyonce. Sold 2.5 million. So Lemonade by Beyonce. In 2017, it was Divide by Ed Sheeran, selling 6.1 million. So Divide by Ed Sheeran. And in 2018, it was The Greatest Showman soundtrack, which sold 3.5 million. So The Greatest Showman soundtrack for 2018. Just to very, very quickly go through those again. That is 2014 Frozen, 2015 25, 2016 Lemonade, 2017 Divide, and 2018 Greatest Showman. If you've got the album title, that is what is going to get you the mark. You're not getting the mark just for the artist. So that's where the rule is for that one. Add up your total, that's going to be out of 25, and make sure you are leaving a comment just below, or if you're watching this from St. Mary's, as usual, just go to the community page and just type in your number on the comments box down there. Have a lovely day, everyone. That was pub quiz number 5.